Today I fucked up by wearing my ripped underwear to my doctor's appointment. Today, I, F22, went to a new doctor. It was your standard, run-of-the-mill first doctor's appointment that includes a physical and rambling of family health history and any existing conditions. I'm new in town where I am, and have been waiting to see this doctor for about 5 months and made it known I was open for any cancellation appointments that needed to be filled. I had a day off from work today, so when they called to tell me they had an opening in their afternoon schedule, I threw on any clothes that were near me and ran out the door to make this appointment. This is where my fuck up starts. I have this old pair of panties that have a rip on the side, exposing the right side of my pubic area. They just got ripped before I washed them last and I forgot to throw them out. They subsequently got washed and folded in with my clean underwear in my hamper I'd snatched them from in my hurry. Anyway, I don't notice and go to the doctor's office and get checked in. The doctor's nurse informed me I'd have to get naked except for my underwear and into a gown as the doctor does breast exams, whatever, no big deal. I'm notorious for being comfortable with my body in doctor's offices and locker rooms, so much so that when my mom used to tag along with me to doctor's appointments and I was asked to strip down, she'd say, "Oh, that won't be a problem." I roll. My logic is, doctors are trained professionals and see bodies all the time, no reason to be ashamed, we all have bodies with their own quirks. My doctor comes in when I'm undressed and ready in my gown, and things are normal. Kind of awkward, but we push through it. He asks me standard questions and is very thorough with his questioning, which I appreciate. He starts his exam and is listening to my lungs. I do deep breaths. You'll get it. I had mentioned some abdominal pain during his questioning, and he asked my permission to lift my gown and listen in. I oblige and have no issue with this. I lay back. He starts talking to me about something we had in common, and he lifts my gown. He goes silent in the middle of his sentence. I take my eyes off of the weird-looking ceiling tile I had been focused on and look at him. His brow is furrowed and he looks at me, kind of befuddled. I, at this point, have no idea what the problem is and say, "What were you saying?" in an attempt to brush the awkward moment off. He kind of chuckles and says, "Hold on, I'll be right back," and places my gown back over me. I am oblivious to what's going on and just lay there breathing heavy due to having my mask on, staring at the weird ceiling tile again when the nurse I'd seen earlier came in. I looked at her and she looked at me and said, "Hey, honorable," which is never a good sign here in the South. So the doctor sent me in because, "Well, it looks like your underwear is torn. Did you know that?" No babe, I didn't. I turn beet red, and get so embarrassed and tell her I had no clue, clearly flustered. She kind of laughs it off, says no worries at all. The doctor wants to make sure you aren't embarrassed and feel comfortable with him, so he had me tell you. Here's what we can do, I don't have any undie options here, but I'll bring you something you can slip on. I agree and she leaves the room. I'm completely mortified but decide to laugh it off and I can't help but chuckle to myself when I look down and see what he saw. She comes back with the aforementioned something to slip on and y'all, I walked out of that doctor's office with an adult diaper on. My doctor was super kind during the rest of my visit and even had his nurse stay with us in the exam room throughout the rest of the appointment to ensure no tomfoolery on his part, which I so appreciated. Although I'm mortified that my doctor saw my no-no square, I walked away with my head held high and the option to pee my pants if I felt like it. Too long didn't read, wore ripped underwear to my first doctor's appointment, exposed myself, and walked away wearing a diaper. Edit, for clarification, the breast exam was toward the end of the physical and the nurse was in the room for it. Loved the wrap up and the option to pee my pants if I felt like it. As a physician, internal medicine, I can assure you he didn't feel uncomfortable, he just didn't want to potentially get sued, especially a male physician with a young female patient. I am a little surprised he didn't have a chaperone for the breast exam though. Sorry that wasn't clear before, but he did have her in the room when that was performed. He did that towards the end while his nurse was in the room. I can imagine he would feel a little awkward with the ripped underwear, but I think it's more likely he wanted to make sure there wasn't anything untoward going on. I can think of at least 2 situations where he could be called into question if he didn't address it, so better safe than sorry. Sounds like a good doc though. Did you go straight home or did you have a chance to test out that diaper? I definitely thought about it, but didn't go through with testing it out. But it was nice to have the option. When I had an exam done, the doc told me to strip down to my boxer shorts, and because I also mentioned some hip pain that I had occasionally, he said that he would do some stretching of my legs so we can see where the pain comes from. He leaves and I get undressed, lay down, and he starts stretching my legs. A few moments in and my little dude is peeking out of the boxer shorts. And first he continues and then suddenly stops and asks me if I could pack my friend of the southern regions back to his place. I was so embarrassed, but my doc didn't make any further remark or comment. I guess he has seen worse things than penis getting a bit of fresh air. Friend of the southern region, no square. This has really expanded my vocabulary. Today I fucked up because my nose has been broken since I was 7. So let's start off with the fact that my dad has messed up teeth and didn't want his son to have bad teeth, so they paid a good sum of money to get them fixed. I had 11 years of orthodontic work, starting with a gum graft when I was 5. We'll come back to this later. When I was growing up and even in early adulthood, I could hardly breathe. I would sleep in a sitting position when I got sick, and when I wasn't sick my nose was always clogged and my tonsils were the size of golf balls. I never really complained that I couldn't breathe with my mouth closed because I assumed that it was normal somehow. Eventually, when I was 24, I went to an ENT specialist to get it checked out because one more night of sitting upright unable to sleep because I couldn't breathe was too much. I went to this German doctor who checked me out and he was very confused how I had lived so long with such a horrible airway. At this point I was about 270 pounds and just shy of 5 feet 11 inches. Physical exercise wasn't my forte. He asked me if I had ever broken my nose, and to my knowledge I never have. He was confused by this, so he sent me for some x-rays. Before I left he told me that I likely need a structural rhinoplasty, and I probably also needed my tonsils out. The x-ray comes back and he tells me that it makes no sense. I'm not a doctor, but when the specialist says your bones are wrong, you get a bit concerned, so I went back in. He showed me on the x-ray that my jaw was not a straight line. There are sections in it that go up in levels as if I had a ton of work done on my teeth, and that the work likely messed up my nose so bad that it wasn't functional. He asked me what orthodontic work I had, and all clicked for him when I gave him the laundry list of work that they had done. I told him I had gum grafts, headgear, braces, tongue cages, spacers, retainers, and they wanted to break my jaw and move it forward, but after 11 years of this I decided enough was enough. I won't have my jaw broken in the name of good teeth. The doctor told me to roll back to the spacers. Explained it was a device they installed in my mouth that opened my palate from a V shape to a U shape, and he said that's what did it. When the orthodontist increased the size of my upper jaw, it pulled my nose over to the right side of my face, permanently blocking that nostril and partially blocking the other. I had this done when I was 7 years old, and coincidentally that's also the time that I turned into a walrus of a young boy. So long story short, they gave me a structural nose job, removed my tonsils and adenoids, and I lost 80 pounds in 6 months and had a lot more energy. I could sleep laying down even when I was sick, and even can kind of breathe with my mouth closed. So to the German guy who fixed my face, thank you. I would not have lived as good of life if it wasn't for your work. And to the orthodontist, thank you for fixing my teeth even though it cost me 14 years of health. Too long didn't read. Orthodontists fucked up my nose. I didn't understand the problem completely for 14 years. Edit. Wow, the amount of people responding that they have similar issues is massive. If you do a class action, hollow out your boy. My husband also can't breathe with his mouth closed, so now I am curious. Oh dang, I didn't even think that by sharing this story that I might help others. Did he have orthodontic work done? Anything that might pull his nose around his face? If yes, then definitely look into it, cause fixing it has helped me a lot. I get sick way less because I'm not congested 24/7 and I can sleep, which I hear is somewhat important. Sounds like when people with sleep apnea finally get a CPAP machine or some procedure to unobstruct their nasal passages, more energy gain and weight loss are certainly positive effects they share. I have pretty bad allergies. As a result, I'm a mouth breather. Got a CPAP at age 44, and OMG, I've realized I've been living a tired life for like 40 plus years. I died at Walrus of a Boy, smiley face, what a story. It's pretty accurate. If the orthodontist added tusks the look would have been complete. Once in middle school a kid called me a mouth breather. I was so confused, because that's just how people breathe. Never knew there was an alternative. Was this kid telekinetically gifted and escaped from an underground science lab? That is the craziest story I've ever heard. I could only breathe out my mouth and then I had my adenoids and tonsils taken out and I could breathe out my nose better. Spoiler, I am you from the future. Today I fucked up by coming in my pants while my mom showed me a picture of Jesus. Today I fucked up by coming in my pants while my mom showed me a picture of Jesus. I'm a man of 21 living with my relatively conservative and religious parents while I go to college. My parents' house is a one-story, cheaply built house. This means that the walls are paper thin, you can pretty much hear any normal volume conversation from anywhere in the house with pretty great clarity. In my case, doing the business isn't a loud activity, so I don't have to worry about timing my strokes with the whir of the AC unit to mask the sound. I more have to worry about the activity level of those around me, as it is frequent where my parents will come to my room to talk or ask me to do tasks. That being said, I have been caught off guard quite a lot and I have my lockdown protocol in place to lower suspicion and avoid getting caught. One of the tactics of this lockdown protocol includes the time it takes me to answer a knock on my door. This consequently, is also the fatal flaw that now has me recounting the traumatic events of today. I figure that the quicker that I answer a knock with come in, the less suspicion I draw. I personally feel that if I were to yell hold on and take like 10 seconds to hide the evidence, I would be raising the level of suspicion. Now, some may think that the tactic of answering as quick as possible is dumb. However, I have a little hallway inside of my room which is about 3 feet from the entrance of my door to my bed, cutting off line of sight to anyone who even fully steps into my room. For the most part, my family never fully walks into my room past the hallway because they know that sound travels and that they don't have to make eye contact with me to get whatever they have to say across. However, tonight, my mom, who has gotten into painting during the quarantine, had a new piece of art to show me. So it's about 7 p.m. and I can hear that my parents are in the living room down the hall watching their favorite TV shows, which they do for an hour or so every night after dinner. So I figure that now is as good a time as any to get busy since I wouldn't be interrupted. I was wrong. No one was watching the TV, and my mom was in her office right next to my room scribbling away at Our Messiah. The folly of my judgment became clear as day when I heard a knock at the door just as I had passed the point of no return. I scrambled to hide the evidence as the words come in left my mouth. As I pulled my pants up, my mom turned the corner with a freshly painted picture of Jesus fucking Christ holding the hand of a little girl whilst they strolled down a dirt path in a meadow. I stood there looking into the eyes of Jesus while my mistake soaked my inner leg and sock. But at that moment I realized that this was only the beginning of my problems. I began to wonder why, in such a dark room, I was able to see the face of our Lord and Savior so clearly. It was then that I realized that in my rush to save what pride I had left, I had pulled my phone by my earbuds onto the floor, showing in glorious 1080p HD what could only be described of as sin. I rushed to put my soaked foot over the screen to possibly save myself from the eyes of the Lord. With the lack of reaction from my mom, I figured that she hadn't seen what was on my phone, only fixated on my reaction to her new creation. I tried to pick up my phone, mashing buttons on the sides hoping to find the power button to turn it off. Unfortunately, at the same time, I was trying to disconnect my earbuds to put my phone into my pocket as quick as possible. The combination of both frantic actions lead to the high decibel release of pain and pleasure that filled the room and serenaded the ears of my poor mother with the sounds of some woman being ass-blasted by a well-endowed gentleman. My mom exits the room with not another word spoken. It has been 2 hours and the house has fallen silent. Fear that my time in this house has come to an end. I will live the rest of my life wandering the streets, homeless, hoping one day to repent for my sins. Too long didn't read. I was masturbating and about to come when a knock at the door from my mom had me rushing to be presentable. I came in my pants while looking at a picture of Jesus that she had painted while porn blared from my speakers, causing an awkward moment in the universe. Generalized update and edit. It's the next day. I've crossed paths with my mom a few times and she's been kind of quiet. She doesn't seem too cross. So I'm gonna stay under the radar and ride it out the best I can. My parents have really mellowed with age and I feel that this may have been just more awkward than wrong and time will probably alleviate the tension. I've read through some of the comments and I would like to thank you guys for the humorous and light-hearted responses. Really helps take some of the anxiety out of the situation. I would like to address some other types of questions to give a better understanding of my situation. I don't have a lock to my door and I couldn't get one. My parents' theory on door locks is if you're doing something that requires a locked door, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Yes, I know I should have done it in the bathroom. And yes, I should have done it when no one was awake. However, as the title suggests, today I fucked up everything for this situation. From my conditioning to respond to door knocks the way I do, to my inability for self-control sometimes. The phone. I know that video players across all modern phones pause the video when an audio device is connected or disconnected. However, on the website that I was using, Fantasy, touching anywhere on the screen plays and pauses the video. In my anxiety-riddled, fat-fingered attempt to hide the phone, a brush against the screen was bound to happen. It's fake. Everything is fake. Nothing could ever be real. You're just living in a simulation that is tailor-made to anger you by filling Reddit with creative writing papers. What horrors it must be that you alone have to endure such torture, to be exposed to such inhumanities. Thank you so much for being the one to decipher the falsities of our universe. If only my programmer overlords who made this simulation could have made me in your image to be a truth seeker. What a life that would be. /s. Well, how was the painting? It was pretty nice. It was one of those adult coloring books where the image is already drawn but you fill in the colors. Something that you'd find at Hobby Lobby or something. But she nailed it. Good detail. She used darker greens and oranges, kinda rustic. That sucks and all, but why not just wait until they go to bed? Or do it in the bathroom? Thank you, this story made my day so much better. Best of luck. You came too? Sounds to me like the power of Christ compelled you. Yikes bro, so yay. Breakfast is gonna be awesome. Bread with nut butter.